Okay, two things. One, I'm going to ask you a question, but also I already have an answer for you.
Okay.
But
I
then
like
you
that.
can
I like
also...
that. When you ask someone a question just so you can, in a minute, you can ignore what they're saying.
Yeah.
You can say yours. I like that you're being upfront with it. Go on. What's your question?
Yeah, I'm working on honesty. I will get to the question. First, there's going to be a bit about me, too. So this whole thing, just about me. But
I'm glad I can be involved in some way.
Yeah. To begin with, here's a new thing I've been doing. Lotion, entire body, head to toe after a shower.
Okay.
How do I look? How's my skin look? Look healthier?
It looks the same.
Looks the same.
I don't think I've
ever...
ever...
touch it?
Okay, sure.
Forearm, maybe? Not there. Smooth?
No.
No?
It feels hairy, obviously.
Okay. Do you want a more bare piece?
Sure. But I also did feel a little resistance. Okay.
Little resistance?
Yeah.
Huh, interesting. You think you're smoother?
Maybe.
Really?
Give me a feel.
Yeah, you might be smoother, but there's like a more leather to it almost.
What's smoother than leather, baby?
Not much.
True.
But, new thing you've been doing? Anything? But I also have something first. Came in the other day with sunglasses on and a big-ass iced coffee.
Me?
Yeah.
I did do that, didn't I?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was into it. It's kind of
Okay.
bitchy. I like it.
I've been thinking about a lot about like self-care and stuff like that.
What's more self-care than
being a huge bitch?
Yeah.
Just to everybody,
Yeah.
except for myself.
Yeah.
So that means sunglasses and big iced coffees.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. I don't mean like you shouldn't bitch anybody out, but definitely like,
I was.
wear sunglasses, get a big iced coffee,
I've been getting like one a day.
Yeah.
And you want to know how it came about? About 2 weeks ago, I really wanted coffee because I was really tired. But I was like, I don't want something hot though. Mm-hmm. And then a good 20 minutes passed. I went, they make them cold.
Man. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And so, just here. What do they could say? I'm in my bitch era, I guess.
Hell yeah.
Anyway.
We watched 2 movies this week.
Oh, okay. I thought you had your. Oh, okay.
No, my
I
thing was
remember.
the iced coffee
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
Oh, you saved the question for me until the end. Okay, I get it.
Yeah. Oh wait.
Cut all
Yeah.
that.
My bad. Yeah. Go ahead. Do you have anything new, or does that cover it? Did I address it well?
That covers it.
Okay.
I thought you were going to ask me the question. I was going to say mine, and then you were going to say yours, but I forgot you said yours. And then
Yeah.
asked me mine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're gonna cut out all that mealy
Cut out
mouth,
all that
everything.
mealy mouth stuff.
So right here,
We watched 2 movies.
we did. Eating Soup Alone is a podcast hosted by me, Christopher Crumley, and co-hosted by Nicholas Johnson. We try our best to ramble incoherently about a handful of movies at least once a week. The 2 movies that have been on my list for a long time, I'm glad we watched them.
Me too.
Great. I loved both of them. Just spoilers out the gate.
Yeah, these were 2 movies that have been on my list. I'm like, I want to
Yeah.
watch these, but I don't have like a huge motivation to watch them.
Yeah.
Both of these movies, Chris, front to back, kick so much ass.
Yeah.
Chris, spoilers? FaceOff might be my favorite movie.
It might be my favorite movie too.
Oh, God.
I really genuinely. Do you want to start with Face Off? You want to start with Candyman? What's your vibe? How you vibing?
I don't care. Either one.
Yeah.
Let's
All
go
right.
in order. Let's do Candyman first.
Candyman
We'll
first.
watch
Okay.
Candyman first.
Candyman, I believe, 1992?
Something like that.
Something like that. Don't know who directed it, but I know that it's based on a story by Clive Barker. You haven't seen Hellraiser. I have. Love Hellraiser. Love to do it for the pod sometime soon. Spoilers. I think my choice for next week is going to be Titanic.
Okay.
In honor of the missing submarine. Have you heard about this?
Yeah.
Or is that bad? Is that not is that tasteless?
Oh, I don't know.
That might be tasteless.
That's a great question.
That might be tasteless. Never mind. Forget the Titanic
If
thing.
by the time, if they find them by the end of us recording this podcast,
Yes.
then we'll watch Titanic. next
Okay.
week.
Prediction.
They won't.
Yeah, they're not gonna.
Yeah.
Really sad, honestly. Maybe like a second of silence for mourning those people because they're definitely dead, and that's very sad.
I just saw a headline. I don't really know what's going on.
I'll fill you in a second. Can't think of a scarier way to go.
Then drowning?
It's not just drowning.
Or being lost at sea?
Not just that either. But we'll get there. So, to begin with, the Titanic is about 370 miles off the coast of Newfoundland, or whatever, however you say that, Canada. And it is also 12,500 feet underwater, which is roughly 2.4 miles, underneath. Submarine, according to what I read, I don't know what time zone, probably hours, I can only assume. But Sunday morning, they sent these people off. There's 5 people in the submarine. Submarine is supposed to be down there for like 2.5 hours, right? About an hour in, after just fine contact and tracking, just lost them. Okay. So, they're trying to find them. One of the things they're doing is they have some kind of like specific vehicle for like scanning the ground, but they had to send it from the shore, and it travels at like 20 miles an hour, so it's just going to make it there whenever. But basically, they have roughly a couple days worth of oxygen. At this point, I think I heard someone told me maybe they have like 40 hours left or something like that.
Okay.
But it's now Tuesday, obviously, and they've been missing since Sunday morning. And the other thing is that at that depth, there's a couple of problems. One is that I don't think the submarine can withstand, like, it's built to last underneath that pressure. Ideally, I think you want to be down there for like 2.5 hours. Mm-hmm. Being down there for a couple of days at that pressure might actually, like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Same thing with like your body. Like I think that's an optimal time for you to be down there. Mm-hmm. I don't know how much the effect it's going to have because I'm not a scientist, but like a couple of days down there, not so great. And obviously the other concern is like how long it's going to take for them to slowly ascend without dying or getting the bends and stuff. So a lot of problems all around. Another thing my grandfather said to me, so take this with a huge grain of salt. I mean, this is a Fox News man. Something about them potentially being bolted into place where they're at in the submarine. I don't know how big the submarine is. I don't know if that makes any sense. But either way, let's just go with that for a minute. You're lost at sea, almost 3 miles underneath the ocean, specifically 400 miles basically off the coast, with only a few days worth of oxygen in a submarine, and you're potentially bolted in place also?
Like each person is bolted in place in the submarine?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you think of a more scary... All I'm saying is, like, can you think of a more scary way to go?
No.
Like, this is horrible.
What? I mean, if there's a chupacabra on board the submarine at the same time, then yeah. But why would you be bolted in place in the submarine?
I have not a clue. All I know is that he said something about the news saying, like, basically it takes, like, 15 minutes to get them out of their, like, seat on the submarine because they're bolted in place or whatever, you know. So I don't know. Again, that part specifically is secondhand information. Everything else I mentioned was firsthand.
Okay,
but that part I just don't know.
For sure, no matter what, we are not watching Titanic.
Too sad?
Yeah,
okay.
Too soon, too sad.
Too sad. Okay. Lesson learned. I grew as a person today. Hey. You know, because earlier I thought that was a great idea, but as soon as I said it out loud, I was like, you know what? No, bad idea.
Yeah.
Bad idea. But, you know, I just was thinking about that romance, and they fuck in that car. And also I was listening to a podcast about the Titanic today, and I was just like, why not just, you know, it's in the news, baby. But you know what? You're right. Very, very.
It's not in the news for a good reason. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen Titanic.
Really?
It's like a what do they call it?
Blockbuster?
Yeah.
Forrest Gump?
It's like a zeitgeist thing.
Yeah.
I know a lot of it. Mm-hmm. I can tell you probably the plot of the Titanic.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah. You're not going to go into it, and there's not going to be anything that surprises you for sure. It's one of those things where, like, you know, you're just going to be trying to vibe. You know, 90s romance, biggest movie of all time until Avatar happened vibes, you know?
Yeah, and I don't care about any of those things you just said.
I got some more facts about the Titanic, though, if you'd like it.
Yeah, hit me.
Lost, do you know about when they found it? I can't remember a hard date.
No.
But it was in the 80s.
Okay.
People have been trying for a long time.
Since it sank.
Yeah. And the guy who found it specifically was down there doing something else. Like, he was getting paid to map, like, other wrecks or something like that. Can't remember specifically. But I do know that he had a window of, like, 12 days where, like, the person who gave him the money was like, okay, if you finish with enough time, you can have, like, this little chunk of time to go find that motherfucker. And that dude found the Titanic in that, like, 12-day little window he had. Yeah, because he was, like, super confident. He was like, dude, I know a lot about the ocean, how this shit works. Like, I know I can find this motherfucker. And the guy was like, you get in 12 days tops, you know? He went and found it. The other thing, though, is, you know, it basically, they thought it was going to be perfectly preserved because of, like, just the salt water 3 mile down. They thought it was going to be like a lifeless desert down there. Plus, it's like only 33 degrees Fahrenheit, 1 degree, 2 degrees Celsius. They thought it was going to be perfect down there. As soon as they found it, they were like, "Oh no, this is teeming with life. There's as much biodiversity down here as, like, the rainforest. There's so many I can't say the word anemone.
Sea anemone?
Yeah, sea anemones and crabs and mussels and different bacteria and stuff. And the thing is, like, being very rapidly consumed. I can't give you a hard date, but I've seen scientists' prediction range from, like, 10 to 200 years in terms of how much longer it's going to last. A lot of people say by, like, 2030 it's going to like collapse in on itself because of structural structural integrity, like just being eaten away between like there's these things called rusticles that are it's just covered in. It's eating like 30% of the ship or something. I don't know, whatever. But either way, what I'm trying to say is that motherfucking done.
Yeah, for sure.
It's not gonna last much longer down there. But anyways, Candyman.
What's your history with Candyman?
I know it's like one of those things that people consider like a staple of like 90s horror or whatever, and so like it's just been on my list for that reason, basically.
You love Tony Todd, surprisingly, without seeing Candyman, because I think this is the Tony Todd role. You know?
Yeah, I've seen him in X-Men, not X-Men. I've seen him in X-Files.
The guys that read about X-Men.
Yeah, I've seen him in X-Files, and I've seen him in a couple of other things like Final Destination or whatever.
It's gonna be Venom in the new Spider-Man game, which is pretty cool.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah, wonderful voice.
Yeah.
Great actor.
Yeah, they tell you so much about Candyman in this movie.
They do.
And the awful stuff that he's done or has been accused of doing. And then you see him. Yeah. And I'm like, fuck. Just the coolest looking person I've ever seen. Just him with that coat and those pants just at the other side of that parking garage. I'm like, fuck, that's the dopest guy I've ever seen.
Yeah, he's got Freddy Krueger condition, where like it's like, I know this guy cut off a little baby's dick, but he's so cool.
But he's fun. I want to hang out with him.
Yeah. Yeah, same thing with Freddy, where you're just like, God, I know he murders children in their sleep, but fuck, he's so funny. Welcome to prime time, bitch. That's hilarious.
So, I had similar relationship with Candyman as you, except I hadn't seen the X-Files. I know Tony Todd is the mortician in Final Destination. Yeah. And I think all the Final Destinations.
Okay.
This movie...
We'll pause for a second. No other thing you want to touch on with Candyman as like a whole, in terms of like anything that... Was there like... Was Tony Todd your only draw to it, or like... Have you heard people talk about it much, or is like... I don't know.
The first time I'd been made aware of it, I can't remember what it was, but I was reading some article online in like middle school.
Okay.
It was probably like cracked.com or something like that. Nice.
And
I saw a picture of literally the last scene of this movie of the husband dead in the bathtub. Yeah. And it was like scene from Candyman, blah, blah, blah.
Sure.
I was like, fuck, that's fucked.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't think I ever want to see Candyman. It's a movie called Candyman, and then that's something that looks like that, isn't it? Yeah. And just from then on, just bits and pieces of Candyman have been brought to my attention, and slowly knew what it was over time. And then the sequel came out a couple years ago.
Is it a sequel?
Fun. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know it was a sequel. Okay. Is Tony Todd back?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's a good call. So did Jordan Peele direct it?
I think he produced it.
Just produced it. Okay.
Yeah. I don't remember who directed it.
Interesting. Was it generally like a favorable thing? People liked
the new one?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think it kind of came and went.
Yeah. Interesting.
Which is upsetting. I would like to see it though.
Yeah.
The main guy in it, I can't remember his name. He's Dr. Manhattan, though. Spoilers in the new Watchmen show.
I don't know. I don't watch the new Watchmen show, so I do not know.
But anywho, you and I watched it the other day.
We did, yep.
This movie kicks so much ass.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I haven't heard more about Candyman. I think Candyman, like, people should be ranting and raving about this movie like it's...
Yeah.
A Nightmare on Elm Street,
or or even like Silence of the Lambs or something. I feel like just like the pacing, the cinematography, like even the sound design, like the choir that they use, and like the score, everything about this is just so like of a vision or stylized in like such a fantastic way. You know, I think it is wholly it's an experience, right? Yeah, it's got a vibe.
Absolutely, and I mean just even plot wise, when it starts going, I'm like, okay, this is. I haven't seen exactly this before. Yeah. And then it starts going, and then it gets to the point where, what would you say, halfway through the movie, she wakes up in that girl's bathroom, or that woman's bathroom? Yeah. From then on, I was like, I have no goddamn clue where this movie is going.
Yeah, very surprising.
At any minute.
Yeah.
And, I loved all of that, and I'm sure you know, there's all the political and societal and racial undertones to the movie. So go ahead. You can speak on that. But the biggest thing, I was doing some reading about it and reading some pieces about it, write-ups and reviews and things that people were saying about it. And the biggest takeaway I got from doing my extra credit is that, yeah, whatever this movie is trying to say, it is trying to be like, you know, a black horror film and this and that and speak on that. But also, it's made by a bunch of white people through the lens of a white woman. So it kind of really, really misses the mark. Mm-hmm. And so that's why I want to see the new one.
Sure.
That's what has me the most interested in that.
Absolutely. I didn't actually even know that the whole thing was so white top down.
Yeah.
But anyways.
Yeah, and I also learned that the apartment building that most of this takes place in.
Cabrizi Green or Calibri.
Can't remember what you called it the other day.
Caprizi Weed or something like
that.
Caprizi. Yeah, I don't know.
But that place is real.
Yeah.
And Ruth, the woman in this movie who they're investigating, who, you know, someone came in through her medicine cabinet and killed her.
Yeah.
That's a real woman.
Interesting.
And that really happened to her.
Interesting.
I think they changed the last name.
Yeah.
But the neighbor with the baby has the real last name.
Oh, interesting.
Which feels a little ghoulish to me, if I'm being perfectly honest.
Yeah. Interesting. You really did do some homework, huh?
Yeah.
I did not do any homework.
Yeah.
You know, from the get-go, this movie has this really interesting thing that I feel like first 2 seasons of like the X-Files, Child's Play, Silence of the Lamb kind of has this like late 80s, early 90s kind of like just look to it in like the fashion, the cars, and
it's all kind of flat, you know, just that that time period.
Yeah, there's just something so interesting about just like even just like the daytime shots of this. There's like this like it kind of almost reminds me of, you know, like almost the best way I could describe it was to quote Kumail Nanjiani quoting someone else, or maybe even his guest on the X-Files files. But anyways, in the X-Files files, one of the things they discuss is like how the X-Files is bred out of this like late 80s, early 90s like golden era that America was kind of in for the middle class. Again, not obviously different ethnicities and minorities and stuff, but specifically like if you were well-to-do in a sense, like it was like just before things were kind of going to start getting a little rocky.
Mm-hmm.
And it was probably like the most economically like kind of like secure and like just stable things had kind of been, other than maybe like the 50s or whatever, like that like ideal atomic age. But it just has this like not a care in the world kind of like look and feel to it. And all of these things that I've listed out, even in like Child's Play, like she's a struggling mother, but she still has this like beautiful apartment, you know, and like they have nice clothes, you know, like it's interesting, you know.
Yeah, I want to talk about that look for just a second.
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
That late 80s, early 90s look. It's always so strange to me and feels like a dream.
Yeah, it's got like a Lynchian, like surreal, like nostalgic.
It's like this, Child's Play, Halloween 4.
Yeah, specifically 4 also has that. Yeah.
And I don't know if it's hazy and just has a dreamlike
quality. Or early Seinfeld, very early Seinfeld.
I don't know if they all are like Pete and Pete.
I don't know Pete and Pete, but
it's an early Nickelodeon show, sitcom. I don't know if those things actually feel that way, or because my earliest memories of watching television are
watching Frasier,
Frasier, or things from the late 80s, early 90s. You know?
Yeah, I was thinking about that the other night when we were watching shit. I was like, damn, like I literally like, cause like, you know, we watched something like FaceOff, and that's 97, so that would be potentially like the earliest. If I'm really pushing it, like, you know, maybe like the next couple of years I'd start forming memories. And like, I don't know, but I've also seen some pictures of me where like me and my mom are like dressed kind of like what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to say is that like my relationship to like that nostalgia would really just be my entire childhood watching Nick at Night, probably just seeing things like Full House.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because like so little of my time was spent with that shit. But even as I say it out loud and try to like, you know, really contextualize where my like, you know, nostalgia comes from, I'm like, no, I still have like these early memories where people dressed like that. My grandparents dressed like that. You know, like.
Well, yeah, I think it's. I mean, world's smallest violin for the both of us.
Yeah.
I think you and I both grew up lower middle class.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. You know, if it's 1997, the world around you probably most likely is going to resemble 1994 more. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because everybody's got they're rocking a couple of years back swag. Well, back to the movie though. Another thing about this movie, we talked about it while we were watching it, is just this like effortless quality it has, where like I actually feel Chicago a little bit.
Really?
Like I vibe with Chicago. I can get a sense of Chicago, not like geographically or anything like that, but like just like kind of. Oops, sorry. Kind of like culturally, like they show shots of the big downtown, but in the background.
Yeah.
It's always outside.
I don't think you ever see the Bean.
Yeah.
Cool.
You just see the neighborhood that the Candyman, like legend exists in, and anytime you see the characters who are not from there, you don't really see them in their neighborhood so much as you see them in their very nice apartments, very detached from like the actual ground of Chicago. You know what I'm saying? Like the ground floor of Chicago.
I also read, I might cut this out because I don't know the legitimacy of it, but like the gang members and stuff outside of that building are real gang members who live in that apartment building.
Interesting.
And the only like real way they could like film there was to either pay those guys off or go, hey, we'll pay a lot of money to be you yourselves in this movie if you want. So that's fun, I guess.
Interesting. So just from the rip, a lot of smoking happens also.
Oh my god, this is the most I've ever seen people smoke inside of the movie.
And that's another thing, like that's something in my mind that I'm thinking of right now also, is that like again to like parallel the 90s and the 50s in terms of like being these like like sister eras in my mind, like it feels like smoking had a new resurgence right before it was outlawed.
Yeah, maybe that's what we're seeing. Maybe that's the hazy dream look, is all the cigarette smoke in every single room. Yeah.
Because like I don't know why, like because like you look back at the 70s and the 80s and it seems like there's not that much smoking really. But then like in the 90s everybody just started smoking again. Like everything is so smoky in the 90s. Anyways, the movie centers around a bunch of a couple of grad students who are very chummy with professors. That's an interesting thing. Like her boyfriend is like
husband, I think.
Her husband is like a professor and she's like a grad student, and it seems like an explicitly addressed thing, but like it's like implicit there that like they probably had a similar relationship to like he ends up forging on the side.
Yeah, I don't know if it's like this is how it is in real life, or if this is just the dynamic I always see in movies, but just the idea of a professor dating a student, no matter how close in age they are, is always skeevy to me.
Yeah, I'm not into it. It's something I'm not into.
Even
I'm
if,
also
like, you're not in their class.
Yeah.
Skeevy. Don't like it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, same thing with, like, age gaps. Like, I feel like if you're in the realm of, like, a 5-year, like, okay, whatever, like, especially as you get on in age. But, like, age gaps can be difficult. For me also is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
You seem a little more clammy on this one.
How so?
Oh, I don't know. You just give me a yeah.
No, the age differences are difficult for me too.
Yeah, it's just difficult, It's just difficult. Because it's just one of those things where it's like once you start approaching, like you got a decade between you, dog.
Oh, that's.
Like I know someone who like legitimately would have been like 22 when their wife was born, and it's just like, dog, like that's nuts. Like you had 22 years of life before she was. You know what I mean? Even like bacon in the oven. Yeah. It's crazy.
I feel like, and I could change my tune in a handful of years when I'm older than 30, but I feel like if both people are over the age of 30, I don't give a shit what the age difference is.
Okay.
If you're 31 and you're dating someone who's 75, good on you. But if you're dating somebody that's 70 and you're 29 and a half, no thank you, I don't like it.
All right. But anyways, that doesn't have anything to do with Candyman. Basically, the main character and her friend, I think, Bernice and... Who's the main character?
Her name's... Not Mulder.
Can't remember her name.
Or not Scully, sorry.
Her friend's name is Bernice, right? Her friend's Bernice.
Is anybody's name Bernice?
Yeah. It's Bernice and...
I want to say Meryl?
Meryl?
No,
like
that's
Lynch?
Not it.
Like Merrill Lynch?
Merrill Lynch.
Merrill Lynch?
Who's Merrill Lynch?
Merrill Lynch is like a financing firm or like some kind of like 401k financy type shit. Cast. Helen.
Okay, I buy that.
Sorry, it's Bernadette.
Bernadette.
Her name is Bernie. They call her Bernie, but her name is Bernadette.
Also, a fun fact I learned.
Yeah.
Actress who plays Helen was originally cast as Bernadette, and the person playing Helen was going to be the director's wife.
Okay.
And then they decided, nah, Bernadette should be a woman of color. they cast a woman who's playing Bernadette, and then director's wife became pregnant and said, hey, lady who was playing Bernadette, you should really play Helen. And then she played Helen.
Interesting.
Also, insanely allergic to bees.
Yeah.
And had to be hypnotized for all her bee scenes.
Hypnotized.
Yeah.
Isn't interesting. That is. Tony Todd let them put bees in his mouth.
Yeah, had a dental dam put in so they couldn't go down his throat.
Wow.
And then also struck a deal where every time he got stung by a bee, he got paid $1,000.
Wow.
And he got stung about 25 times, I think.
Nice.
So, good on you, Tony Todd. Not only are you a kick-ass actor, you're the smartest businessman I've ever heard of.
Oh, man. Every time I get stung, I want $1,000.
Yeah. So Helen's writing this paper on urban legends.
Urban legends, yeah. And
like
she's gonna destroy some professor who wrote about the Candyman 10 years ago.
And the little story that guy tells at dinner.
Yeah.
About he was the child of a slave, and
yeah.
That is apparently Clive Barker's story. That's all Clive Barker wrote, apparently.
Okay.
Was
interesting.
That.
Yeah. Yeah, because I read that it was a short story. And that's cool. That's cool that they built this whole other thing around it. Because I do like, and especially in the 90s, I feel like it was like that again. That was like a boom era for it. I felt like, at least me. I mean, but like I can remember the urban legend thing seemed like it was like peak at that point. For some reason, I don't know why urban legend is so synonymous with that era for me, but
it could also be because that's when we believed in it.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah,
but they even had like a movie called Urban Legends. Like
yeah.
But anyways,
oh my god. Oh, go on.
I was just gonna say, sure, urban legend thing always gets me, or I think it's done well here too, also. But
we completely blew past Ted Raimi's in this movie.
Oh yeah, Ted Raimi's in this.
He shows up in a leather jacket and goes, "Hey," and says Candyman in the mirror 4 times, and then his girlfriend says it a 5th, and she dies. And Ted Raimi gets so scared his hair turns white.
Yeah, they say that so many times. They say, "Oh, so and so got so scared his hair turned white," but they never once show anyone with their hair white.
Yeah, I thought for sure Tony Todd. I for sure thought Ted Raimi was going to come back with white hair.
But no, I mean, like also with the urban legend thing, like I don't know. Again, like you said, it was probably because I was a kid, but I remember like. That's peak, like, hook in the handle and, like, the drip, the dead dog in the kitchen. Or not the kitchen, the bathroom, You know what I'm talking about, that one?
Yep.
If you get scared, let them lick your hand, and the humans can lick too or whatever.
You ever, as a kid, I remember, you ever, like, have an adult or whoever, like, tell you spooky stories around a campfire?
Not around a campfire, but one of my few interactions that I remember to this day with my like biological like dad, who I don't really have a relationship, and by really I mean I don't have a relationship with, is just hanging out in his backyard, and he had me fucking so scared, just because that side of the family are like really good at bullshitting. They're like great, like just kind of storytellers, liars, whatever you want to call it, all American gangsters. Yeah, and just for hours he was just like, the lot next to my house is like a church, like an abandoned church. And just, I'm talking like hours. I'm really giving you like a TLDR of just laying this thing out thick for a long time. And he's like, there used to be like this caretaker that like, took care of the whatever. And he had this dog and stuff like that. And like, just eventually had me scared about this ghost dog that would sometimes roam the other side of the fence that was totally made up and never actually ever happened. That's what I'm trying to get at.
That's very funny.
Yeah. Here's
also,
another example, just on a side note. This isn't an urban legend, but like, me and my cousin were there. She was a little bit older, and he spent the whole week talking about how he's got this raccoon problem. They keep like breaking in his trash can. It's like we went out and we specifically bought like all black clothes because we were gonna go out and we were gonna go raccoon hunting and stuff. And I remember like the night that he was actually gonna take us out or whatever. Like he like gave us each like a pocket knife or whatever, and he was like, honestly, you're too young. You got to stay. And just like my cousin went, and it turned out the whole time that was just an elaborate reason to get her out into the woods and then have like his buddy like scare her for a second. That's like just go boo or whatever.
Like the idea of telling your kids, like an urban legend or something like that, and then have them jump out and scare them. Blah blah. That's funny. Yeah. But to make up a story like, oh, someone over there, yada yada. That's someone essentially going, I'm gonna lie to these kids real quick.
Yeah,
and that's
what
very
I'm saying.
funny.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
I remember being very young, 5, 6 maybe, and I can't remember who was all there, but like friends, neighbors, cousins, and stuff like that. Just a bunch of kids were over. My parents were having a party or something like that, and all the kids were like sitting around a fire. And my dad was telling us the hook hand story.
Yeah.
Kids in the car and
classic.
Wake up and the boyfriend's on top of the car, dad and the hook in the door, and then someone comes out and goes boo, and it scares everybody.
Yeah.
They're telling that story. I'm 5 or 6. We're all really into it. My dad's telling the story, and I can't remember if I heard like a twig snap behind me or like I saw someone's shadow from like a car drove by behind us and like illuminated my dad's friend who was sneaking up on us.
Yeah.
And I turned around and looked at him dead in the eyes, and he went, and then he went, blah, and scared everybody else. And I think that was the first time in my entire life I went, my dad and his friends are just guys. They're just people. They're fallible.
Yeah. Okay, so basically the whole thing with like saying the Candyman thing, the crawling through the window, or not the window, behind the medicine cabinet, that thing's all fucking creepy. That's just scary shit.
Yeah.
Candyman shows up. He's cool. He's dripped out. And yeah, like you said, eventually it gets to that point where like Candyman talks to her and says like, "Hey, I gotta be honest, I really couldn't make out a lot of what he said."
Yeah.
But he's basically like, "Hey, Helen, come with me." And then she blacks out and she wakes up and she's covered in blood in the bathroom of the woman who she interviewed at that apartment complex. Walks out. There's a dead dog's head laying there. And the lady is in her bedroom. Like, this whole thing is like a nightmare-y, like, Lynchian thing. Or, like, she's, like, screaming at her baby, like, bassinet thing, and she's just like, "Where's my baby?" And then she sees her and she's like, "Where's my baby? You killed my baby, you killed my baby." And then like there's a knife involved, and then like our main character actually chops her with the knife or whatever, which is crazy. And then the cops show up, and of course, like North by Northwest, she looks like the person who's just done all of this chaos.
So many people keep picking knives up in this movie when they should not be touching knives.
Yeah, which is, again, like, we haven't watched North by Northwest yet, I think, right? Or have we?
No.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, classic North by Northwest mistake, but we'll get there when we get there. So anyways, yeah, she's in police custody, and I love this. I love this, like, her kind of, like, soft framing thing, where it's, like, the tension of, like, you know she didn't necessarily do it, I think. You know, again, North by Northwest, but whatever. Yeah, and then she's, like, trying to plead her innocence, don't want to listen to her. Do you have something?
I was going to back up, but
go ahead, you can back up if you like.
I was going to back up to her getting to the apartment with her friend.
Sure.
At the beginning. Specifically her crawling through the hole that is Candyman's face spray painted on the side of the wall, you know?
Great visual, yeah.
And I love that for the whole movie before. I feel like a long time goes by before you see Tony Todd.
Yeah, that's true.
I feel like he shows up like halfway through this movie.
Yeah.
But you, like, this sounds so pretentious. You feel him during the whole movie.
Yeah.
Like, you feel his presence, and he's there, and he's looming over everybody the whole time. And it's great, and I love all that. But do you hate Helen? Because I don't like Helen.
I wouldn't say I hate her, but I wouldn't say she's, like, my favorite character in a movie ever. I'm kind of indifferent.
Yeah, What's the word I want to use to describe myself before saying this? Like, this is a classic white guy going, that person's racist. But the beginning of this movie where they're going to the apartment building and her friend is like, "We shouldn't be doing this."
Yeah.
And she's like, "Oh my God, do you have pepper spray?" And she's like, "Yeah, I have pepper spray." She's like, "We'll be fine. Don't worry about it." And her friend's like, "We really shouldn't be doing this." And the whole time they're going up there, she's like, "We shouldn't be, in these people's homes." And the entire time just watching this white woman go, "No, we're allowed to be here."
Yeah,
and like breaking into that apartment and then going to the other apartment going, "It'll be fine. Trust me. We're going to be fine." And so I don't know if it was, like I said about this movie but at the beginning and it being made by strictly white people. And, like, I don't know if that was intentional.
Sure.
But like the whole time I'm like, oh yeah, this is the whitest thing I've ever seen a person in a movie do.
Yeah.
And so I was like, just at every corner I was like, oh, this bitch in this movie the entire time. And so by the time it got to here and she was, maybe had killed this baby, I was like, yeah, okay, fine, I'm fine. I'm not upset for you, really, if I'm being honest.
There may be other things we want to touch on, but I would like to next touch on the, like, semi-convoluted, like, ending where she realizes the baby is in that big bonfire.
Yeah.
And, like, someone sees the hooks. They're like, oh, Candyman's in there. And it's, like, very much so, like, an In Bruges level of, like, if the little person's not dressed like a baby, then Voldemort doesn't kill himself in that moment. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like there's a couple of moving pieces where it's like
really contrived.
It's a little bit of a jump, but it works. It's one of those things that I love about storytelling is that, like, you've set up one of those Eisenhower machines or whatever,
The Roy Orbison machine.
Yeah. Roy Orbison machine. Yeah, exactly that. It's like one of those things where like I feel like anytime I point it out, people are always like, they think I'm like saying like, oh, that's shitty. But it's like, no, like you had to like set up this crazy domino thing for like this very specific thing to happen. It's fun.
To be like, oh, well, that's kind of unbelievable. It's like, well, yeah,
it's a fucking story.
It's a movie. Yeah. And I do like it. I do like all that. Like, but since we're talking about the ending of the movie,
the
only real problem I have with this is the way she defeats the spooky ghost serial killer.
Yeah, because he's a ghost. So
she sets him on fire.
Yeah.
And he dies.
Yeah.
But also, he's a ghost that nobody else can see.
Yeah. So. Yeah. So
really,
is it like a mental thing for her?
Well, no, because the kid sees his dead body.
Oh, right.
Remember?
And then yeah, gives the hook into her, puts the hook into her casket.
Yeah.
But she saves the baby, but she gets burnt up bad.
Real bad.
Yeah.
She dies.
Yeah. I really like that scene where she comes home from the hospital and confronts her husband.
Yeah, and
that's a really tough one.
There.
Yeah,
I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, she acts that so well.
Yeah.
She acts that very well. That's a tough scene to watch.
Yeah, and so does the
husband?
No,
or the girl.
The new girl.
New girl acts it very well too. Yeah, she acts it very well.
I hate husband in this movie. I just hate that actor. Yeah. And I think probably because he plays John Connor's stepdad in Terminator 2.
Yeah.
I just hate both of them.
But anyways, and then she becomes basically the Candyman at the end, and she looks disgusting with the burnt up head and stuff. I don't know how I feel about the creature design. It's almost like an update, in my opinion. It almost feels like Bride of Frankenstein-ish.
Okay.
But just without the big tube hair.
Absolutely,
I don't know. Interesting, but yeah, that's a wrap on it. I thought this was a good movie. I thought this was a great movie.
Yeah,
I give it.
Go on.
Maybe like I'm gonna give it like a minus. Yeah, I feel like it's appropriate for Candyman.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a B+.
B+.
Yeah. But also, I want to see Candyman 2.
Yeah.
Not Candyman 2, because there's Candyman 2, 3, 4, and 5, or whatever. I want to see.
Is there really?
Yeah, there's a lot of sequels to it.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and then there's the reboot sequel, like the Halloween type thing.
Interesting.
So, yeah, I'm gonna give it a B+. Did I say that already?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm getting so hungry. Would it be crazy to intermish and make food?
Yeah, you can do that.
Okay. Let's intermish for a sec.
Okay, so after we watched Candyman, we watched FaceOff, the 1997 John Woo film.
Yeah, what's your history?
I know of it. You?
Same, yeah. I just know that it's John Travolta and Nick Cage and they swap faces.
Yeah.
Had no other context for why this happens. And I also want to say, during the movie, I tweeted, hey, we're like 20 minutes into this movie called Face Off, and everyone has their faces. Yeah. And then at literally 24 minutes in, they start explaining why the faces are about to get swapped. So I jumped the gun by 4 minutes.
Yeah, but at that point, one face swaps.
Yeah.
And then it takes a while for the second face to drop.
Yeah.
So yeah, we have no history with this movie.
But yeah, it's the best movie ever made, probably. Right?
This is great. I haven't seen a John Woo movie before this.
Yeah. I don't even have anything to say about it, really. I'm just gonna like describe what happens, and that's like enough, right?
I mean,
like what?
We can go through and just talk about how wild every scene is, but can I talk about the craziest part of this to me overall, like the plot in general?
Sure. What's up?
Nicolas Cage is sent to kill John Travolta, shoots him, doesn't kill him, but kills his
son, 5-year-old son.
His 5-year-old son.
Yeah.
Flash forward 5 years, John Travolta's life is a mess. All he cares about is finding Nicolas Cage. Meanwhile, at home, his wife isn't happy and his daughter's just running amok being goth.
Yeah.
Because dad's always away and obsessed with catching this guy.
Yeah.
And then, Looney Tunes happens and they swap faces and they go on a journey.
Looney Tunes happens. You mean Freaky Friday?
Freaky Friday for boys happens.
Or
Freaky Friday for men happens.
I want to say it's a 2-parter. I could be tripping, but I think it's called Dreamland. Is the X-Files 2-parter where Mulder and then some other agent who actually is a guy who has voiced the Joker before.
Cool.
You might even recognize him. He's been in some other shit.
Troy Baker.
But anyways, I don't know. I can't remember. But anyways, they do a body swap thing, and yeah, so. Freaky Friday, but go ahead.
And so he goes on his Freaky Friday adventure, And instead of the way this movie should end, John Travolta learning a lesson and realizing, oh, I've been too preoccupied with my son's death, and I've been neglecting the people I still have at home that I love.
Yeah, instead he
gets a new son,
yeah.
Chris.
Yeah, it is nuts. It genuinely is.
I love this movie.
I love it, yeah.
He doesn't learn a lesson. He just gets a son. New son.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I hadn't even thought about that. You're dead right. Yeah, so...
like at the end, like when he's first face off him, he goes, I want you to put this scar back on my chest because it means a lot to me because the bullet went through him and killed his son.
Yeah.
And at the end he goes, don't put that scar back. I don't need it. And you think it's because he's like, I've moved on. I don't need that.
Sure.
But it's because
he got a new son.
A new son.
Yeah. Hadn't thought about that. That's actually fantastic.
Oh, God.
That bumped this movie up for me. So one thing I want to comment on is that like the whole like soft sci-fi element of this thing, and like the tragedy, the soft sci-fi to me. I'm gonna make two statements. It's on Philip K. Dick mode, and the tragedy of everything you just kind of described and everything else, whatever, is on fucking like old boy mode.
Okay.
Well, I'm just saying, like, okay, so like laying it out. First of all, you pointed out first like 7 minutes. I'm exaggerating. No dialogue.
Yeah,
things just happening. Like the whole
7.
Yeah, the whole thing with like the sun getting shot on the carousel. That no dialogue. Then you flash forward to modern times. Nicolas Cage is dressed up like a priest and planting a bomb in the LA Convention Center. No dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
Then he flirts with a lady who's in the choir.
Finally, dialogue.
Yeah, and so you like learn that it's like 5 years later, and like John Travolta's obsessed with finding the guy who killed his son, just like you were saying, and he's not paying attention to his family. Yada yada yada. And they chase Nicolas Cage in like this crazy thing with like an airplane and a helicopter and a bunch of Hummers, and there's guns, and
he's got two
crazy
guns, with like dragons on them and shit. Ugh.
He finally catches Nick Cage. Nick Cage is in a coma. Then they describe the whole face-off thing. Here's first thing, nuts, but I mean again it works for the story. But realistically, like nuts that they would have this guy go undercover.
Yeah.
That they would do this, because this is what I'm talking about. This is the shit where it's like old boy level of like tragedy. They're like, hey, you know that guy that you're obsessed with that killed your son 5 years ago? You're gonna get his face.
Yeah.
You have to for your job.
Yeah.
And then, dude wakes up, says, "Put my rival's face on me," and then lights those guys on fire so that the only people who know that this has happened in the world are now dead. And John Travolta is gonna rot in prison with the face of his infant like son killing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's like this like nightmarish Dante's Inferno like multi-layer hell that he's now in, where people think he's the guy who murdered his son, and that also means that he's in jail for the rest of his life, and there's no one alive to confirm that the craziest operation that has ever been performed happened to him.
Yeah.
And he's just gonna sound like a maniac if he tries to prove it to anybody.
Yeah. And like I feel like any other movie.
Yeah.
Nick Cage wakes up, takes John Travolta's face,
kills
everybody who knows about it,
yeah,
takes Doctor hostage so they can face swap again later.
Yeah.
But no, in this movie, and like something happens later, and then there's a showdown, and he's like, you know what? And he kills that doctor. He goes, we're stuck with these faces now.
Yeah.
Checkmate. But no, he immediately kills that guy. Goes, nope, this is forever. But then also a little bit later goes, I'd like to get my face back, so let's try and capture this guy.
Yeah, but who's gonna do that for you, dude?
I don't know.
Who's gonna do it for you?
Who does it at the end? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, who does it at the end? Yeah, great point.
And I had so many points to jump off of everything you just said because there's so much that's happening in this movie, and I can't remember any of them. So go on, say something.
Neither can I. So then, and you know that shoe drops with like him showing up and like telling him like, "Hey, I got your face now, you son of a bitch," or whatever. Whatever. So they stage the craziest breakout. Nick Cage does with a guy who...
Oh, Nick Cage...
Well, it's John Travolta, but he looks like Nick Cage. But anyways, go ahead.
You want to call him bad guy, good guy?
Sure.
Okay. Nick Cage, bad guy.
Just say bad guy, because now I'm thinking of...
Okay, bad guy.
Yeah.
Smokes without a face for a while. That's pretty cool.
Good, yeah.
And I love that like they don't show his face, but they do for a couple seconds.
Yeah.
Like for really quick shots.
Yeah.
Like that's great.
And yeah, like, and there's that one point where the doctor says to him in that moment, because you can see him in his reflection, he's like, "What do you want?" or whatever. He's like, "What do you think I want?"
Yeah, it's so good. It's so good. Kudos to Nick Cage. I'm glad he's kind of having, I want to say, a renaissance.
Yeah.
He's kind of getting out of the slump of being just a meme.
Yeah.
I think he's like, no longer.
He does a great job. Like when he's doing that phone call where he's calling his brother, and he's like, "You took my fucking," and it's just hunched over the phone. It's like,
yeah. And this movie starts and it's like, oh, what an insane choice to play this guy this way.
Yeah.
Like when you see him at first, he's got the mustache and the sniper.
Yeah.
He gives you big Leon the Professional vibes.
Yeah. What's with the mustache? Like the mustache goes away.
I wish it was here for the whole movie, but it would be hard to swap that, I guess.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's like, that's pretty wild. And then Nick Cage starts playing John Travolta. He starts playing good guy, inside good guy, and he's doing a John Travolta impression. And it's incredible because it's pretty subtle and it's pretty subdued, and I fully believe that that's the same guy.
Yeah.
And then I could be wrong, but my theory is when John Travolta and Nick Cage in real life actors got together to be like, yeah, let's study each other's mannerisms so we can do this. I think Nick Cage is the homie and realized, oh, if John Travolta's going to pull this off, I have to be Jim Carrey in The Mask so that he has a lot to pull from.
Yeah.
And to his credit, I think there are a lot of moments where, just like inflection stuff like that, John Travolta does a pretty all right Nicolas Cage impression, but not being too over the top. But then he has to be the Joker for a lot of this movie.
Yeah.
And that's the only problem I have with this movie is John Travolta doing that. Kind of, I'm like, I don't like looking at this.
Yeah.
But, again, shout out to Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
Killed it.
Yeah, like I said, I am of the camp that I think both of that went off better than I could have hoped for, really. I mean, it is one of those things where, believably, those guys are those guys. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, Nick Cage, glad he's getting some respect. Also crazy that him and Jason Schwartzman are both nephews of Francis Ford Coppola. But, Nick Cage just too cool. I mean, pretty much anything I see him in from this era, like, I'm always like, damn, dude, like, I want to be Nick Cage in the 90s.
Yeah.
I can't think of anyone else. You know, like Waves has that song, I want to be Dave Grohl. I want to be Nick Cage, bro.
Yeah,
I want to be Nick Cage so fucking bad.
Have you ever seen Mandy?
No.
It's good. He's good. Yeah. I'd say we should watch it sometime, but I don't know what I would pair that with, or I can't see a good moment to bring that up.
Sure.
But Nick Cage kicks ass.
Oh yeah.
I listened to a couple episodes of a podcast not too long ago. I didn't end up finishing it because it kind of got boring.
Yeah.
But apparently someone pulled a heist on Nick Cage's house.
Yeah.
Because he had a copy of Action Comics #1 and like Detective Comics whatever, where Batman first showed up, and just like a lot of like millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars of expensive comic books.
Yeah, I think he's notoriously a guy who spends it.
Oh,
he does not hang on to it.
And they
he's got a castle.
That's why he I think you can hear him talking about that lately, is because that's why he's in so many bad movies, is because he lost all of his money.
Yeah.
And he talks about it. He's
lost or spent.
Yes. And like got fucked on like taxes because he didn't like. I think he fully admits now, like, I thought my money would never run out, and I spent it like it wasn't going to run out, and then it ran out.
Yeah.
And then got in a lot of trouble, got in a lot of debt, and then he seems to be back on the upswing now. So good for him.
On the up and up, dude.
On the up and
well
up.
to do.
Remember the movie Kick-Ass?
Yeah.
In the comic book. I don't think this happens in the movie, but in the comic, Big Daddy, the character Nick Cage plays, turns out all the way he's getting all the money for all of this, or all of his like guns and stuff that him and his daughter use, is he has a briefcase full of like very expensive old comics, like Nicolas Cage has.
Yeah.
And then he used that for the movie when Nicolas Cage played him. I thought that was fun.
Yeah. That's the only part of that movie, the whole thing front to back, that I even remember is Nick Cage's Big Daddy when I think he's, spoilers, dying or whatever, like talking to his daughter or whatever.
Yeah,
dude, tears me apart. Nick Cage is so good at acting.
I forget he's in it until, I forgot he was in it until right now when I put that together.
Yeah.
When was the last time you saw Kick-Ass?
2011 when it came out, probably.
Yeah. I watched it probably like 2 years ago, maybe.
Yeah.
And I got 20 minutes into it, and I was like, I don't know if I can finish this movie.
Yeah.
And I really want to like it. I think I'm going to try to give it another go because I want to watch Kick-Ass 2 again. Because I think I saw Kick-Ass 2 is
We're the good guys. Jim Carrey does that. He goes, "We're the good guys."
He does. Oh my God, Jim Carrey's in that movie.
Yeah. It's the only thing I remember from that movie. I literally don't remember what else happens in that movie.
He dies 20 minutes into it. From my
but he has the best line, though. We're the good guys.
I think Kick-Ass 2 is the first R-rated movie I went and saw on my own.
Okay.
Like when I turned 17 or whatever.
Yeah.
And I hated it, and I only watched it the one time. But yeah, I want to... There's no way Kick-Ass holds up, let alone Kick-Ass 2. But I really want it to.
Yeah.
Oh my God, McLovin's in that movie too.
That's true. His town needs an enema, doesn't he say? So wait till they get a load of me, I think he says, or something right at the end of the first one. Because he's a good guy, but then becomes the bad guy.
Yeah.
Spoilers.
I think he says wait till they get a load of me, probably.
Yeah, wait till they get a load of me.
He goes from Red Mist into his bad guy name is the Motherfucker. I remember watching Kick-Ass 2 and being like, ooh, I don't think I'm going to like this movie.
Yeah. That just reminds me of Horrible Bosses.
I don't really remember. I saw that, but I don't really remember it either.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. I would like to see if that holds up because I remember that being a genuinely very funny movie. Like
Charlie Day gets raped in it. I remember that.
That is true. Yeah.
Played for a joke. Yeah. That's pretty much all I remember of it.
But no, Jamie Foxx is in it or whatever, and he tells that whole story about how he's like Motherfucker Jones, what they call him. And he's like, they're like, why do they call you that? And he's like, because my mother, after a hard day of work, she was laid in bed or whatever, and I came up gently on her. I started running my hands into her purse, and I stole her whole week's pay. Really fucked her over. And Jason Sudeikis is like, well, they really should probably call you like Motherfucker Over Jones or something, right? To like really kind of clear up the confusion. And he's like, what are you talking about? What confusion? And he's like, no, nothing. Never mind.
So funny. That's so good.
Yeah, it's really funny.
Yeah, I should watch that.
Or like the other thing I think about is Jason Bateman. His character gets caught like speeding away from like the crime scene or whatever. And like a camera catches him, like he's driving a Prius or whatever. And just as Jason Bateman's delivery, because the police are like, what were you doing? Why were you speeding or whatever? He's like, I was drag racing. And they're like, drag racing? In a Prius? And he's like, I don't win often.
You remember? Yes, I do remember that too. And Jason Bateman, love him.
Yeah, Jason Bateman, love him. Jason Sudeikis, love him.
Yeah.
Charlie Day, love him.
But Jason Bateman specifically always has just the craziest delivery.
Like he could say anything
because it's not crazy. That's the thing. It's like the perfect dry humor.
It's like this like cadence thing where like he just like perfectly hits the syllables in like a way that's just funny.
Yeah, it's just great. Yeah, and I think a couple years either before or after Horrible Bosses, he was in a movie with Ryan Reynolds called The Change Up, which is a Freaky Friday movie just like FaceOff. Go on.
Yeah. Okay. Wow.
Back to FaceOff.
Yeah, back to FaceOff. I also got to say, something I'd really like to do for the podcast is a Hangover trilogy dive.
I don't think I've seen The Hangover 3.
I've never seen the second or third one, I don't think.
I saw 2 once. Probably.
I may have seen the second one now that I'm thinking about it.
Dude, I saw... What year did the first Hangover come out?
I'm going to put money on 2010 on the dot.
I'm going to put 20...
I'm going to say it kicked off that decade.
I was going to say 2009.
Okay.
Hold on, let me look it up real quick. So the following sentence is going to be more bearable.
But I just saw a clip from I don't know which one, and I don't know the context. It's just
2009.
Okay, nice. It's just what's the guy's name with the beard between two ferns?
Zach Galifianakis.
Zach Galifianakis. He's looking out the window of like a 7-Eleven. He sees a black man sitting in his car, and then he walks up to him and says, "What's up?" Yeah.
Yeah, 2009 for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's 2009. So take that information as a grain of salt. We were 12, 13 when it came out.
Sure.
I watched that movie 100 times.
Really?
Probably. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I remember my dad.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
I
don't know how many times I saw it.
And,
but I definitely saw it more than once. But anyways.
Yeah, I watched it. It was one of those things where like every time a friend came over, I'm like, we were watching this movie.
Yeah.
And I can't remember.
Yeah. I feel like there was a good run there. Like Walk Hard's so fucking funny. Borat so fucking funny. Superbad so fucking funny.
Yeah, the 2000s comedies.
Yeah. And I really feel like Horrible Bosses still gets a pass. This is pushing it, but like I even kind of liked We're the Millers. Jason Sudeikis again. He's one of those guys. Jason Sudeikis is one of those guys where it's like if Jason Sudeikis or Jason Bateman's in it, it's gonna make me laugh.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say it's gonna be a good movie, but it's gonna be fucking funny for sure.
And,
you know what I mean? There's no way for Jason Sudeikis or Jason Bateman to not be funny.
And it could be. I mean, I don't think they make a lot of like. We've talked about this before, like
no, they don't
movies anymore.
They don't. Yeah.
But also, I feel like it could also be, SNL's the funniest from when you were a kid.
Yeah.
That could be the same way for these movies that we're thinking about. Like, because fuck it, it's Jason Sudeikis.
Yeah.
It is, I saw a picture of that cast, that SNL cast.
Yeah.
Like 12 of them in a line,
mm-hmm.
and it's just like, I think it's the only time I've seen a cast photo of SNL where I'm like, oh, every single one of these people is currently the most famous person in the world.
Yeah.
It's like Bill Hader, Jason Sudeikis, Kristen Wiig, Seth Meyers, Fred Armisen, maybe.
Andy Samberg?
Will Forte, Andy Samberg.
Will Arnett? Or no Will Arnett?
No, not Will Arnett. Okay. I don't think he was ever on SNL.
Really? Interesting. He seems so SNL adjacent.
I think his first big thing was Arrested.
But anyways, back to FaceOff. So FaceOff, gun things happen. Turns out that bad guy has a son, but good guy finds this out, and that's the son he gets to keep.
Yeah, because he looks like his original son.
Yeah, crazy. But I do really like. I mean, I feel like good guy gets some nice scenes as Nick Cage where he's able to like give certain people like Sasha like a moment that they'll never get from bad guy. You know, like when he's like, I don't understand and I don't know, but I can tell you that I've made your life harder with things that I've done and things that I've said, and for that I apologize.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Also, Magnet Boots in prison.
Magnet Boots in prison is crazy.
Crazy because it almost never comes up.
Yeah. Oh, and then there's another nice moment that like good guy gets on the behalf of bad guy. Like the guy who looks like Aleister Crowley when he gets the shot in the neck. When he gets shot in the neck, and he just looks at good guy, and he's just like so sincerely. Like this actor really kills this moment.
He's my favorite part of this movie.
Exactly. Because when he like kisses Sasha, and he's like, just make sure the kid's all right.
And
Great guy.
Like, when he's like taking that kid away, and he's like, hey, stay right here, you're gonna be okay. Kid and winks at him or whatever, walks away. Yeah.
But specifically, when he says to good guy or whatever, he's like, hey, we had some good times, didn't we?
Yeah.
Like when he knows he's dying, and his last words are, we had some good times, didn't we?
Yeah, that guy's my favorite part of this movie.
Yeah, so good.
So he wants to take his face off.
Yeah, I love when they're high, and he's like, I want to take his face off, or whatever. He's like, and he's like,
take his face
and then
off?
when he finally like walks over, he's like, that man gets no more drugs.
He's like, you want to take his face off? Because his nose, his lips, his cheeks, his eyes, face. I want him off.
Oh yeah.
Also, because I don't see a way for this to logically come up, because there's no logic to it in the movie.
Yeah.
For some reason, good guy John Travolta's whole thing with his family is running his hand over their face.
Yeah.
Strange.
Yeah. And then sleazy bad guy is at home with wife and sexes her and is like giving her some attention that she wanted, and he also cures his daughter of being goth.
Yeah, by beating up Hyde from that 70s show.
Yeah, dude, on brand. That man.
Yeah.
No acting required.
No.
They said that, and all I got to do is act naturally.
Yeah. They hired him, and he was like, hey, what if I was a rapist in this scene? And they're like, sure, man, that sounds good. Don't know where you came up with that. It's great actor's crazy how your mind works. And that was just right there on the top.
Yeah. Then you really loved the scene where they're confronting each other on either side of a mirror, but it's both mirror, and they hold the guns to like themselves.
Yeah, it's so like on the nose and cheesy, but like they're both on like, the shot is... They're back to back, but like there's a wall in between them, and then when they turn to point the guns at the wall, it like reveals that they're both standing in front of two different mirrors.
Yeah. Doesn't bad guy say something like, "Hey, you want to just peacefully swap faces?" And then the good guy's like, "No," and he's like, "Okay, then I guess we're just gonna kill each other.
Let's kill each other.
Plan B or whatever." Yeah.
That whole scene kicks ass.
Yeah.
When good guy escapes from prison, his plan is to go get electrocuted and just hope for the best when that happens, because they're going to take metal boots off. But he's getting electrocuted by Joe Bob Briggs.
Oh, yeah. Joe Bob shows up.
I Googled it, tried to figure out why Joe Bob was in this movie.
Yeah.
No idea. All I found was a tweet from Joe Bob. Yeah. Very funny.
He was also cut from, but was intended to be in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre too.
Oh, fun.
So anyways, and then, basically there's the big confrontation at the end. There's birds everywhere. He kills John Travolta, but not after John Travolta. Well, I guess kills the bad guy who looks like John Travolta, but not after bad guy, like, starts cutting his face, because he's like, if you get it, I'm going to fuck it up for you or whatever. Obviously doesn't, because the world's best surgeon is able to not only reper that, but also put his face...
The world's second best surgeon, because the first one's dead.
And he shows up with new son for wife and sister, and I don't know, I guess... Gotta give FaceOff an A.
Yeah. Oh, there's so much more I want to say about it.
Sure, go ahead.
I love that Nick Cage bad guy's whole steez, his whole vibe in this movie is just those silk button-up flame shirts. Never wears one, but his whole everything. It's like even that butterfly knife he has that's all squiggly. I've never seen one of those before. It's insane.
Dude, I forgot also, like, okay, so something else I blazed past is, like, I love that, like, good guy shows up, he tells his wife, he's like, hey, I know I look like the guy who murdered our sons or whatever, but, like, you know, you can believe me or you cannot believe me, or you can test his blood. I'm telling you, my blood type is O negative. Bad guys is AB. So do with that what thou will. And she does do that. She comes to the lab. She realizes what's up. And then he's like, I'm glad you believed me. And this is another great Nick Cage moment that, like, not being a dick, you fucked it up by talking to me during it, but I was like about to tear up when he was telling that whole story about, like, how he was like, yeah, I can remember, you know, taking a girl on a date or whatever and not knowing she's a vegetarian, but taking her to get surf and turf, and she sat there and ate bread or whatever, and then, like, had an allergic reaction or something or whatever, chipped her tooth or whatever, so we drove around all night looking for an all-night dentist or whatever, yada, 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 and then he says some other shit or whatever, and,
sorry.
No, it's okay.
I talked through
but it was good.
Specifically that part, yeah.
Yeah,
it was great, yeah.
I
just didn't think an all-night dentist was a thing.
But yeah, that's like those two scenes stick out in my mind as like moments where I was like, damn, Nick Cage is killing it. That, and then like I said, the one where he's on the phone, and he's like, they took my fucking ow, and he's like talking about like it like hurting to move his face.
Yeah, or lack thereof.
Yeah, honestly, like gimmick out, Nick Cage doing that whole movie would be like horrifying. Like if he was just a bad guy with no face, just kept going fucking ow, and like was just pissed and like after. But it's a totally different type of movie and would shift the tone dramatically. But yeah, good.
As much as I didn't love it, there are some scenes with bad guy John Travolta that I did like.
Give me some.
I did like him kicking the shit out of that 70s show.
Yeah,
that was fun. I was like, oh man, I know he's not her dad, but it's so cool to see a dad just kick ass in a movie.
Yeah, he did have a couple of moments like that, and like specifically taking care of her, that I was like, this is like mildly redeeming. And you even mentioned that like if you felt like they were teasing out like him learning a lesson, but he doesn't.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do like those moments where it almost feels like maybe there is something in there. Same thing with his brother. He's very sweet with his brother.
Oasis.
You know, yeah. So yeah, I do like that he gets those moments to be kind of like...
it's strange because like the thing that John Travolta doesn't get over that he needs to is something that Nicolas Cage is just already adjusted to. Like like when he's like, oh yeah, you're doing all this because you're upset that your brother died and you don't know who you should be. Just be yourself. Stop being goth. And so bad guy realistically fixes the family. Yeah. And good guy just goes, new son, and they go, that's all we need to zip this bad boy up.
Yeah. 100%.
The end kicks ass when it starts in the church, because I was like, this is where this movie's ending.
For sure.
And it goes on for what feels like another 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And then they start fighting on a beach, hand to hand. So sick.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is so, like, cliche, but they're doing it so hard that I'm so happy about it. Just the fight between the two guys doesn't end with guns. It ends with them punching each other really hard. What else?
Much like the ocean floor, this thing is teeming with biodiversity, or with life. It's got a lot. There's a lot to it. It's got layers, like an onion. This is like an onion.
I don't like when he's
parfait
coming on to daughter.
No,
but I do like.
I like that it doesn't last though.
Yes, I like that it's at one scene and it's over. But I do like that they smoke cigarettes together.
Yeah,
I don't know why, but that made me. That was just the most wholesome part of this movie was the two of them smoking cigarettes. I'm like, I won't tell mom if you don't.
Yeah.
Actually, no, that line was sexual. So I'd like to revoke that statement. I like that they smoke cigarettes together.
Okay.
Period.
Yeah. Full stop.
Have you seen any other John Woo movies?
I don't know offhand. I really don't. I know the name. I just know he's like the pigeon guy, right?
Yeah. I want to see Hard Boiled. I know... what's that guy's name? Stars in that movie. I know the poster is him with a baby, so that seems fun. I think his name is Tequila in the movie.
Tequila?
Yeah. He plays saxophone in it, I think. Let me see. I don't know how I know all this, especially since I haven't seen the movie. Oh yeah, Chow Yun-fat plays Tequila. So... gotta get on that. He also he did a Broken Arrow, which is another movie starring John Travolta.
Okay.
Fun fact I have about Broken Arrow is they there's a theme from Broken Arrow, music done by Hans Zimmer.
Okay.
That they used as temp music in Scream. Scream 2, I believe, as like Dewey's theme for whenever Dewey comes up. And they they were like doing test screenings and stuff of the movie with the temp music in it, and everyone's like, love that music for Dewey, it's great. So they're like, fuck, I guess we'll keep it. So the song that they play for Dewey in all of the Scream movies is a song from a different movie.
Huh.
And I think Hans Zimmer gets credit, score credit for all of those movies, even though he doesn't write the score for any of the... Also, did you know Hans Zimmer doesn't really write a lot of his music? I found out this the other day, and it really bummed me out. A lot of film composers and very famous composers have a team of people that just know their style really well.
Yeah.
And just give that out to people in their team. You write the music for this movie. Doesn't that suck?
So they work to a place where they have a style and a name, and then they outsource it?
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it's the same thing that happens with a showrunner. You like a show, someone writes the first season or whatever, and then eventually, you just when you look at episodes that are actually straight up written by someone that is the showrunner. It's first episode, and then the rest of it's all written by all these people you don't know, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of I don't know. It's probably something like that, I don't know.
I feel it's kind of a different
beast
though.
Yeah.
I feel like a TV show has its own legs, and there's a lot of moving parts to a TV show, but writing a song for a movie, it feels like a very personal thing. It seems strange to just outsource it to folk.
Interesting though.
Interesting.
Would you give this movie? I said A. I thought
this movie's getting an A+.
A+?
A+.
A+ for FaceOff. Okay. Where'd my little Sharpie go? Oh, you took it. Son of a bitch.
Well, it was mine. I gave it to you.
All right, so next time around, do you have something in mind?
Yeah, I don't think you're gonna like it though.
Is it Seven Samurai?
I think it might be Seven Samurai.
Okay. I'm gonna try to find a fucking longer movie in my fucking to watch list. You son of a bitch.
Because you were gonna make me watch Titanic, which I think is 4 hours. So in place, we'll watch Seven Samurai, which is 3.5. Well, you will, because I already watched it. Fuck it, I'll watch it again. I don't care. Or if you're very opposed to it, I would like to do Hard Boiled.
All right, tune in next week when we watch Seven Samurai and Gone with the Wind.
Really? Oh, isn't Gone with the Wind very
238
long?
minutes? Yes, it is.
How many hours is that?
60. So 3 hours and 40 minutes.
Oh, that's longer than Seven Samurai. Oh, no, I didn't. I thought you'd pick a short one. Because if you were to pick Titanic, I would have picked a short one. If you were going to pick Gone with the Wind, I would have picked a short one.
It's too good of a bit.
We can do it. Let's do it.
My other choice was, I had some other choices, but that seems like a good bit, right?
I'm not going to be happy about it, but yeah, we can do it.
It's going to be tough.
It's tough, yeah.
It's going to be really tough.
I was looking forward to watching Seven Samurai again, but I'm not doing that. If I got to watch Gone with the Wind,
it's going to be tough. There's so many on my watch list that are much, more, literally in the 80-minute range.
No, it's a good bit, though.
God, I'm actually genuinely dreading it. This one is 67 minutes.
Wow. I don't think that's technically
a
movie.
98 minutes. Golly. I'm so scared I did this. I almost wish I wouldn't have done this bit.
I've also never had any interest in watching Gone with the Wind. I don't know why. I don't even know what it's about.
I don't even know what the Wind is about. All I know is it takes place in the Reconstruction era.
Yeah, and people won't fucking shut up about it.
Yeah. So, well, my mom's calling me, so I think we gotta go. Fuck.
Ugh.
Do I want to backpedal and say Wild at Heart?
All right. Well, tune in next week for Seven Samurai and Wild at Heart. That's that, Mattress Moon. Are you good? Do you want to do that? Your mom's calling.
I missed it.
Oh,
God. It's a pretty good bit, though.
Yeah, you're the mattress man, so you have final call on this.
Oh my God.
But Laura Dern, David Lynch, Summer of Spielberg. We're watching a lot of Lynch movies.
We just legitimately probably have to do a movie each week. You know what I'm saying? Like when I get back, we gotta watch ASAP one of these movies. You know what I'm feeling? You know what I'm saying? Because we have 2 weeks.
Yeah.
We always end up doing it all in like the second week.
Oh, yeah.
Like this is a time where we really have to make a point of.
Oh yeah, for anybody listening, this podcast goes up in 20 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, well, tune in next week for Gone with the Wind and Seven Samurai.
God damn it.
So that is that. A Mattress Man. If you need more soup, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, or go to our website, eatingsoupalone.com. And until next time...